Most consonants found at the end of words in French are not pronounced. There are a few exceptions, notably in words ending with C, R, L, and F. And you can remember that by the consonants in the word careful. But even there's some exceptions, and you will find those consonants occasionally not pronounced. Nice and easy, isn't it? Okay, but let's take a look now at some words with consonants on the end that are almost never pronounced. S, Z, X, T, and D, for example.
Très, et, trop, de, très, mais, vous, trois, et, il est, tu es, trop, salut, de, généreux, sérieux.
With respect to verbs, there's some generalizations that can be made. For example, the ER of infinitives, such as danser, the R is not pronounced, and you're pronouncing the ER as if it were an E with an accent aigu on it. Same thing for the vous forms, as in vous dansez. The Z is not pronounced. And the same thing for when you give an order with the imperative. Dansez. Now you go ahead and try some examples.
Continuez. Regardez. Répétez. Vous continuez. Vous regardez. Vous répétez. Continuez. Regardez. Répétez.
You've just practiced words where the last consonant is not pronounced. How does the French language indicate that you are to pronounce the last consonant? It's by adding an E in the spelling, and that will tell you that you need to pronounce that consonant. Let's take a look at some words and see whether you do or do not pronounce the consonants. Take a look at the following. Did you pronounce that les cours with no S pronounced on the first word, les, because there isn't a vowel afterwards. And cours, no S pronounced there either. Les cours, meaning classes, courses. The singular is le cours with no S pronounced there either on the end of the noun. Compare that to the following. Take a look. Les courses. Still the S on les isn't pronounced. But now on course, meaning errands, you pronounce the first S because there's an E afterwards. But the second S is not pronounced because there's nothing afterwards. So the contrast is les cours, classes, courses, les courses, errands. Let's look at another example. The following words. Tu es adroit, with the T on the end of adroit not being pronounced. There isn't anything afterwards. You are skillful, you're clever. Compare that to the following. Tu es adroite. The T is pronounced because the letter E is there. Tu es adroit, you're skillful, you're clever. Tu es à droite, you're on the right. Actually, the second one, tu es à droite, is ambiguous. It could mean that you are skillful, you're clever, if you're talking to a woman. So that adroit could mean skillful, clever, talking to a man. À droite could mean skillful or clever, talking to a woman. This pronunciation or not of a consonant on the end of the word can make the difference between pronouncing it as feminine, not pronouncing it as masculine. For example, the adjective petit, masculine, petite. Or a noun, such as avocat, avocate, lawyer. First case talking about a man, and the second case talking about a woman. So go and practice the following words. First you'll have some adjectives, some descriptors. On the left, the masculine, on the right, the feminine. And then some nouns, talking about a man on the left and talking about a woman on the right. On the words on the left, don't pronounce the consonant. The words on the right, pronounce it, and pronounce it very clearly.
Avocat, avocate. Vagabond, vagabonde. Américain, américaine. Intelligent, intelligente. Grand, grande.
Just as we've just seen that the pronunciation of a consonant on the end of the word can make a difference between masculine and feminine in adjectives and other words, that pronunciation of a consonant or not can make a difference in terms of verbs, in terms of now singular and plural. For example, il vend, ils vendent. What difference did you hear between the two? In the plural, you hear the D, vende. The ENT is not pronounced. The E is there just to tell you to pronounce the D. If you remember, the D alone at the end of the word will not be pronounced in the singular. So, il vend, ils vendent. Another example, and you try this time. Elle sort, elles sortent. So you hear the T in the plural, you don't hear it in the singular, and the T is heard in the plural because the ENT is not pronounced and the E just tells you to pronounce the T. What happens when you get a verb that starts with a vowel? For example, elle attend, elles attendent. How many differences, listen again, how many differences do you hear between the singular, she waits, and the plural, they wait? Elle attend, elles attendent. The D is heard in the plural and not in the singular, but there's something else going on. The S at the end of elle, meaning they, is pronounced and it sounds like a Z. It's a result of liaison. Elles attendent, as compared to the singular elle attend. Now, if you make that negative, or you put any word in between the subject and the verb that has a consonant in it, see what happens. Elle n'attend pas, elles n'attendent pas. No liaison, but you still hear the D in the plural, although admittedly, if there's another consonant afterwards, it goes by pretty quickly. And in the singular, you don't hear the consonant. So now you go ahead and practice. Remember not to pronounce the consonant in the singular form, the form that is equivalent to he, she, or it, and that you pronounce it very clearly in the plural form at the end. And some of the examples will have liaison.
Il vend, ils vendent. Elle descend, elles descendent. Il part. Ils partent. Elle sort. Elles sortent. Il n'attend pas. Ils n'attendent pas. Elle n'entend pas. Elles n'entendent pas.
If you're studying French now, you've probably seen some verbs that end in ER, such as manger, to eat. Take a look at the following pair for he eats or he is eating, and they eat or they are eating, and see how you would pronounce them. Il mange, il mange. Do you hear any difference? Nope, they sound the same. The ENT is not pronounced, and the E tells you that you do pronounce the G. It's pronounced je. The same thing in the singular. The E tells you to pronounce the G, je. Il mange, il mange. What about if you have a verb that starts with a vowel, such as aimer, to like or to love? Try the following. Elle aime, elles aiment. You hear the M in both cases, but you also hear the Z, the liaison, on the plural. If you put a word with a consonant in between, just like we tried before with ne, let's do it again. What would you do here? Elle n'aime pas, elle n'aime pas. It blocks the liaison so you don't hear the difference. So generally, you will hear the context first. The noun will have been referred to, so you'll know who or what is being talked about.